live with episode 007 of Tom and Rob Chat. I've been thinking, because it's a little doofy that I picked a 3-digit number with 2 leading zeros to say episode 1. Like we're gonna do 999 episodes, and we need I think that would be about 22 years worth of doing it before we need a 4th digit. I'm like, well, okay, we'd have to do 100 episodes to justify 3 digits. That would be at least 2 years worth of doing this. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Anyway, so
it could happen.
It could happen. We don't know. We actually have been doing this for a couple of years already. We just weren't recording it and posting it.
Right.
But I watched Casablanca on Friday evening. It was on Turner Classic Movies. And I must have seen this movie 24 times in my life already, including seeing it on a nice big movie theater screen. But it was like watching it fresh for the first time in a lot of ways, because suddenly you had this new resonance of living under fascism that never really crackled and felt real to me before. And suddenly, even when they go to the flashback, they're like, hey, here we are enjoying Paris, and then there's a loudspeaker, get ready, the Gestapo's coming in a couple of days, and it's like, and then them like getting ready to flee. I'm like, this all feels, and then just living in Casablanca with this authoritative threat over everything they do, and Major Strasser swanning around, and just like this never felt this real before.
They mentioned it in the movie, but it was Vichy France.
Yes.
I mean, that was the right-wing French government that was not aligned with the Nazis, but was basically winking and nodding at them.
There was a lot of winking and nodding. I mean, the Claude Rains character is always dancing on that line. It's like, technically I'm free agent here, and I'm not really working for them, but like we all know what the score is. They asked me to clear out the club, I'll clear out the club, Yeah, it felt a little freaky, and I had to remember, like, man, they didn't make that movie after the war, looking back and creating this idea. It's like the world was fighting fascism while they made that movie. It was actually happening
43. Still.
Yeah, so that's just weird to remember. Like, yeah, what it took the last time fascism tried to take over the world, we really had to mobilize a lot to stop it. And, there's still everyone enabling this thing. And, the New York Times still kind of both sidesing it all the time. And I'm like, what? Can you not see it? How can you not see this? Or is it just your financial interest?
They did it when Hitler rose too. They both sides Hitler as well. And from 33 to about 38. Well, hell, even longer than that.
Yeah. But at least 5 years to do something. Yeah. And or they were just like, surely he won't actually try and kill all these people and take over the world. It's like, he's kind of telling you that's what he wants to do.
My last name is the same name as the great appeaser of 1939.
Oh yeah, poor Neville Chamberlain.
38, I should say. 38, Munich of 38, when he gave away the Sudetenland to Hitler. And I'm looking at the Munich conference here, where you have 2 American officials basically do the same kind of appeasement, because what did Hitler say about Czechoslovakia? It's a made-up country. It didn't exist before World War One. It was just created by the great powers in after the World War One. And all those German people in the Sudetenland, they're being abused by those mean Czechs. Uh-huh. And we need to go in there and be able to protect. What is the difference between that and Putin saying we entered? One of the reasons we entered the east of Ukraine was they were picking on all those Russian speakers. They were treating them terribly and discriminating against them. And it's just like, It's the same thing. I mean, it's not even different. It's the same thing.
It's exactly the
And
same.
they're saying the same thing. Ukraine is a construction. It's not a real country. It's um, we're basically the unsaid subtext is we've been dominating them for
Yeah,
hundreds of
for
years,
years.
and we should continue to dominate them.
I mean, there was also even a moment when they said they likened it to Poland being invaded by Hitler and saying they made that happen, and Ukraine made this happen. Like they're
Yep.
flipping what the cause was.
Well,
Yeah,
Hitler said Poland kept provoking us. We had to invade them.
by
Right?
living their
It's
lives
the
and
same
minding
thing.
their own Polish business. I don't know. Um,
When the secret in the von Ribbentrop Molotov agreement was that, oh yeah, we'll invade from the west, you invade from the east, you take the eastern part of Poland for you guys, and we'll take the western part of Poland. And they even picked a little river for the division of Poland between Nazi Germany and the USSR. So
do you remember what river
that
it
was
was?
in the plans from the very beginning of their agreement, their non-aggression pact.
I was just listening to On the Media by WHYY Studios or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they're interviewing a guy who knows a lot about how to see fascism when it's happening. And he just kept almost like laughing, like, what about this thing they're doing now? What about this thing they're doing now? He's like, these are out of the textbook. One after the other, whether you do this to the media, you do this to public opinion, you do this to this, and these to the institutions. And I'm like, what is the textbook they're reading? There must be one, because if they're following this, but I'm like, yeah, I guess there have been a lot of books written about it, and you get some obsessive guy blogging, and it's, you know, who's that guy Yarvin that they all think is so awesome?
Yeah, Curtis Yarvin.
But I mean, his summary of his idea, it's like they seem kind of intellectually thin, and like would only appeal to you if you were some sort of billionaire who thought like you needed more stuff than other people do. Why can't you read it with any kind of critical thinking and like, well, you know, this guy's a little bit of a nutcase. No, I guess that faculty is not there anymore or something.
Yeah, I listened to Curtis Yarvin, and he sounds like a fascist nutcase.
To put
Which is what he is.
Simply, that's what he is. And then you have, you know, like J.D. Vance, like it's his religious text.
It is.
The Yarvin stuff. You see him repeat it all the time.
Regurgitate it. Yeah.
That's kind of what he was there in Germany doing. I don't.
He refused to meet with. He broke protocol. He refused to meet with Schultz, who is the PM or the Chancellor of Germany, and instead met with the leader of the AfD, the modern Nazi party in Germany. So, and then said, you guys are refusing, everybody in Germany is refusing to enter coalition with them. That's not right. And as Boris Pistorius said, you know, stop interfering in our sovereign affairs. It's none of your fucking business.
Right. They're acting like national borders don't exist, and it's also brazen. I guess they figured if we just brazen it out, we'll get pretty far. That's another tactic, I guess, that can sometimes work, especially if the newspapers kind of roll over and the television stations say, well, our bottom line's kind of at stake, and
right.
Yeah, good thing we got rid of all those regulations that protected news as a non-profit part of our enterprise here, and fairness doctrines, and if we still had those, none of this could have gotten to this point.
Right.
So there really have been a lot of plans going for a long time.
Gift of the Reagan administration, 1986.
I'm looking back even more darkly on the Reagan years than I used to, seeing what the deregulation has led to.
They set the stage for this.
They did, and it made it sort of almost it's a conservative value to deregulate everything possible, and it's like here we are, and it's still fueling them. The deregulation is a lot of what they want to do in Project 2025 and so forth.
Right, because then the richest people get to control everything.
I mean,
if there's no one looking over their shoulder and telling them what to do, it becomes an oligarchy.
Sometimes I want to say something common sense like, don't they have to eat food and breathe air like we do? And it's like, well, actually, if you're a billionaire, you probably got a little special farm that makes your food for you. Especially, you have the cleanest water on Earth. And so, yeah, they don't have to worry about deregulating everything and poisoning everybody else. They don't.
Right. They don't care about anybody else.
They don't care. Clearly, they don't. Because all these policies and actions show we don't care what happens. We don't care who dies or gets sick or can't get their medicine or can't eat. We just don't care.
What they're not counting on is that if you destroy the underpinnings of a society, especially its financial underpinnings, and ours is based on a fiat currency, which is based on promises. If you break all those promises, the currency becomes worthless. And all that money you think you have is so much paper.
Yeah. I mean,
or so much ones and zeros, I should say.
Well, now I'm thinking this is a thing. This is another thing. Let's trash the dollar and we'll all use crypto, which is absolute madness. But I think that sounds like this is kind of where they're thinking also.
Right.
Also, the whole, like, Elon is stealing all this data. There's got to be terabytes and terabytes every time they break in. That's too much to read. It's too much to process. So now he's like, well, let's get an AI to scan through it and summarize it. And then he ends up making these stupid... AI can hallucinate. AI doesn't actually know what it's doing. And he kind of wants to, like, all these people he's firing, he wants to replace lots of them with AI little bots that do things. But and, God help us if he's using his own XAI, which is, I know he has this company, but they don't seem to have anything on the market, which means they don't know how to do it. So if he's using his in-house...
Yeah, it's only used internally. Yeah.
Probably doesn't work very well somehow. God, it's frightening. I mean, it kind of didn't escalate in the fright value from last week to this week. It just stayed at the same scary level where it had been ramping up, and I guess they sort of plateaued. It's this bad, it's going to stay this way until they think of some new horror to do.
Well, it seems that it's going to come to a head pretty soon, because I think the real header will be, is he going, when all these court cases get to the Supreme Court,
right? And
the other if is, if the Supreme Court rules against him, what will he do?
Yeah,
will he ignore them?
I mean, I can almost...
Because what happens if he does that? Then all bets are off. There are no rules anymore.
You could almost imagine there would be a couple of 5-4 decisions with Roberts and Coney Barrett breaking, because they've done that.
Yeah,
before.
maybe even Kavanaugh.
Maybe that seems unlikely, but definitely not Thomas or
not Thomas Alito or Gorsuch. They're gone.
They're gone. We don't even need to ponder.
They have made it very clear.
Very clear.
Kavanaugh sometimes comes over with Roberts and Barrett, but Barrett and Roberts are probably the best bets. You're right.
Yeah.
Barrett more than Roberts.
Yeah,
but
strangely, she started showing a little independent streak on certain issues where she's like...
Well, he fired the head of the Office of Special Counsel, which is basically a watchdog for the entire government system. He was just put in place last year, and Senate confirmed, and it says in the law that the president can only replace this guy outside of the 5-year term for three types of malfeasance, and he has to prove that malfeasance in order to remove him. Well, after this guy said, "You can't fire me," they went straight to the Supreme Court with a brief saying, "We want you to decide this. We want you to take original jurisdiction and decide this right now. Do I have this right or not?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be, nothing has gotten to the Supreme Court until Trump decided to press the issue here. And before they have said, "Oh, you can't have a person in the executive branch that the president can't fire," right?
Yeah.
And they've said that, but this is by statute. So are they going to say it was unconstitutional for Congress to put this minor little check and balance on?
Yeah. They could say that the statute is unconstitutional, not the executive action.
Right.
Right.
Because he's saying you have made other rulings where you said the president should be able to have the ability to fire anybody in the executive branch as he sees fit. And so I want to do it here, and I think that you will agree with me. So up to it. And I'm really thinking that John Roberts has to see the writing on the wall. He has to see it. If he doesn't see it, because if he allows Trump to do this, there are no checks.
Yeah, then it's not the United States of America anymore because we're outside the Constitution completely.
No, it's basically, as he's quoting Napoleon, it's basically he's a rogue emperor of a new empire, I guess.
This is why the immunity decision was so weird. It's like, especially because we know Roberts is kind of all puffed up about how fancy the Supreme Court is. And, the things, if you make these decisions, you're going to put him over you in a big way that's never going to come back again. Do you really want to do that? Well,
and they tried to play nuance in their thing. They're saying, well, we didn't say he has immunity for everything. He said some of it is presumed and it can be overcome by legal argument. But Trump doesn't see nuance. He said, "Oh, you said I'm God, Emperor, and King.
Yeah.
So I can do whatever the hell I want, and nobody can touch me in a court of law." That's what he's thinking in his head. By the way, just as an aside, I saw a picture of Emile Beauvais, the acting assistant attorney general, and I went, "Holy God, he looks just like Max Schreck from Nosferatu."
Big bald guy with
yes.
Yeah, he's kind of acting like him too. Trump is still selling. He's been president now for several weeks. He's still selling cheesy merchandise, and he blasts his email list. Buy this. There was one. It was like a signed card saying, "You are an official advisor member of my cabinet." This gets you nothing. And careful, there's only a few of them. There's thousands and thousands of them. And a signed photo of him taking the oath at his inauguration, carefully cropping out his left hand, which is not on the Bible.
On the Bible.
It's weird to go to all the trouble of having it there and Melania holding it and then not put your hand on it when you take the oath. I'm still.
Because it wouldn't occur to him to do it.
He did it the first time. But this time, there's something. Either it was deliberate or it was like a Freudian thing where his brain wouldn't let him do it. He knew he wasn't actually taking an oath that meant anything, and his hand stayed down by his side, and he didn't even think about it. It was subliminal somehow. And I noticed there was an observation I made during the first Trump term, that I expected him, especially with his attitude that like this is all a TV reality show, to be constantly like sitting at the Resolute desk and being filmed from the Oval Office a lot. But he almost never was. And I thought, that's weird. I mean, Obama kind of didn't do it. Don't know why not. He would always walk out into the hallway to like address the nation. But I'm like, Trump likes the trappings. Like, it's a set with all the things. But now I see him in the Oval Office in footage all the time, constantly.
Yes. Because he invites the White House press corps into the Oval to see him sign some ridiculous proclamation, executive order, or decree, and then hold it up. Like, I don't know why he does that. It's just like,
here's my stupid signature again.
And then they eat it up because he allows them to ask
softball questions,
8-10 questions, and he lies to them, and they don't push back. And but he does it almost every day now.
Yeah, it's constant now, and that's what I expected to see the first time. And I was like, it's weird that he doesn't do that. I'm like, oh, here it is, and here it really is. He's always there, as if it's another kind of the fascist thing. The dramatic displays, the pageantry of it all.
Right.
Boy.
Very important in projecting power. So,
very important to project it, especially if you don't even really have it. Or
well, he is basically, the old will to power. He is saying, "This, I can do this, and who's going to stop me?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's, people don't get, the morons who voted for him again by saying, oh, well, he didn't destroy the country in his first term because there were people stopping him from destroying it. He wanted
they
to
were
do
actually
it.
Constantly doing it. Clearly, all those people around him, rather than come out and tell the American people, oh my God, this guy is crazy.
Oh, I know.
They are all like, well, maybe we'll just keep him like on the track a little bit. But it's like,
that was the thing.
But tell us, tell everybody.
That was John
Come
Kelly.
run screaming out of the White House. Say, you realize what I'm trying to hold this together with this madman? Tell us that. That might change things.
Yeah, John Kelly didn't do it.
He didn't do it.
Mattis didn't do it.
No.
They just kind of, oh, I'm resigned. Bye.
Yeah. I'm going to go write a book now. And
anyway,
the Democratic leadership is not really living up to my hopes right now, and they still seem like we don't know what to do. We're not in power. It's like, oh, come on, that's not. There's some people fighting, but there's some people not, and I just don't get.
Well, when you hear Hakeem Jeffries say, "Well, what do you want us to do? We're not in power.
Yeah,
we don't have any of the levers of power.
What do you want us to do? Do what Mitch McConnell does when he's not in power.
Jump up and down, call him what he is, and do it every effing day. And every time he lies, cheats, and steals, call it out every time.
Every time.
How hard
every
is
time.
that?
Yeah, every time.
That's not hard.
And don't vote for anything. And
right, and jam up
things by raising bushes. And they've heard that this is what people want them to do, and they're like, we're not going to, as if they have some sort of like institutional distaste for just doing that. And I'm like, well, but it would at least slow the train down a little bit.
Right. Gum up the works. Because you're not going to get it back.
No, once it's gone.
If you don't stand for it, you're not going to. First of all, who knows if he'll allow an election in a year and a half? If he gets enough power, he could call him off, and who's going to stop him? Nobody's stopping him with the illegal stuff he's doing now.
No, I forget which critic was saying this, but Hakeem Jeffries went to Silicon Valley to try and convince the other billionaires to still give money to the Democratic National. You still think
he just doesn't get it.
He just doesn't get it.
He's thinking, well, he was trained by Nancy Pelosi, and he thinks that that's the way to do it, and that's the old way. That is the dinosaur. That is the way of the dinosaur.
They are still not seeing that this is a radical new thing, a new era, very different.
Right, you're not in a democratic situation anymore.
And why do they still think it's normal? I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't get it.
I'm seeing the same events everyone else is. And there's a lot of people who are in absolute alarm. And Hakeem Jeffries just seems to think, well, we don't want to play politics or anything. I don't know what is it.
I see you coming, dude.
Oh, man. All right, I'll check in with you later. All right, thanks.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
good. Take care. Bye-bye.